Tonight we're kicking off night one of Wrestlemania. I couldn't be more excited, so to kick off the festivities, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, wrestling comics. Now don't click off the video yet, or click back on. I don't know what you're doing. Don't know what you're doing with your life. But wrestling comics don't fall into one neat category. Sure, they're about wrestling, they're about people who do wrestling, but one of the great things about it is they actually kind of fall across the comic genre. So today, in honor of that most holy of non-sacred holidays, WrestleMania, we're going to be talking about 5 of my favorite wrestling comics with some others that have it a little bit mixed in. We're going to start here with the one that probably you were all expecting first. Let's get it out of the way. Do a Powerbomb by Daniel Warren Johnson. Daniel Warren Johnson, one of the absolute kings of the genre, one of my favorites. You can see right on top right here. In every video I do, I have that framed print of him. And Do a Powerbomb is one of my favorites that's by him. In fact, some would say that this is his best mixture of kind of heart that he's known for and art with action scenes. This is going to be a book that tells the story of a second generation wrestler who, spoiler alert, but a small one, it's like the first 5 pages, witnesses her mom as a wrestler in the ring unfortunately perish due to an in-ring accident. We flash forward many years later where she has spent her life trying to become a professional wrestler herself. Through a series of twists of turns that take on kind of an otherworldly bent, we get an amazing wrestling tournament with high stakes, wonderful family drama, and just all the action and heart that kind of defines a Daniel Warren Johnson comic. If you haven't read this already, regardless of whether you're a wrestling fan, you got to do that. It's Daniel Warren Johnson. You know the art is fantastic, and the story and the heart that's behind it, it absolutely keeps up going there. Of course, it wouldn't be Daniel Warren Johnson if this is the only wrestling thing we're talking about. I've already covered it previously in my mini comics, but Daniel Warren Johnson also does, or did, this WrestleTober mini comic, categorizing some of the pieces that he did back in his 2019, I think it was a 2019 Inktober project that 2019. Just some really cool sketches that he did over the course of that year, mostly of NJPW, New Japan Pro Wrestling stuff, but just really cool action sequences. And of course, going back to Do a Powerbomb, the print I have up there is not the only one I have by him. I also have this sweet print that's showing off all the characters that show up in Do a Powerbomb. I splashed out. I got the original art extra that he does, where I got to have him draw an extra character on. So Murph in a singlet, he looks perfect. Let's get him in the ring. But of course, DWJ isn't the only comic creator who is doing wrestling comics. One of my absolute favorites that's out there is Hell is a Squared Circle. Now, this is a one-shot prestige format, magazine size. Came out from my dearly departed Aftershock Comics. Still miss you, buddy. Written by the amazing Chris Condon, who you may know from That Texas Blood and the current run on Green Arrow. With art by Francisco Biagini, colors by Mark Engler. This, as it says on the back, is wrestling noir genre. It is now, and that's exactly what this is. This tells the story of a man who's wrestling on the indie circuits. Continually, he's cast as the heel, as the bad guy. He's trying to get it over. He's trying to make a name for himself, trying to provide for his family, and just never can get it going. One night, he confronts a promoter to try and get what he feels is earned. Things don't quite go his way, and he has to go on the run. It's a story of ambition. It's a story of what we're willing to do to get the things we think we deserve. It's dark. It's bloody. It's a story of revenge. It is amazing. In just the 64 pages or so that make this up, you get an entire story. The book feels bigger than it is. I love this book. I think you will too. You can find this, and it's not easy to find, but the places that have it, it's like $1. Please go out and read this. And Aftershock, if you're listening to this, I love you. I miss you. Next up, we are going to go for one of my all-time favorite wrestling comics. This is The Crimson Cage, written by John Lees, with art by Alex Cormack, and colors by his wife Ashley Cormack. This is from AW Day Upshot and tells the story of Macbeth, but set in the context of 1980s Deep South Territories professional wrestling. I know that sounds like a lot, and it is just as insane as it sounds. It is. Just is. I'm surprised. I'm a theater kid at heart. I went all the way up through high school performing. I've read Macbeth a number of times. I've done readings of it. I've never actually performed it myself. I would consider myself pretty familiar with the story. This hits all of the story beats. You get all of the same characters, and really gives that sense of foreboding and horror that you get from the original, all while giving you a really cool wrestling story that's all going there. It's all going to be fictional, of course. All of these are fictional. But what I mean by that is you're not going to see any type of recognizable wrestlers that you know, but you are going to see archetypes being filled. Once again, you're going to get the story of ambition. It follows Macbeth, so of course you're going to see a main character who is there with his best friend, who is really trying to push for what he believes in, or in his case, his Lady Macbeth is pushing him continually for what she believes should be his. You still get the weird sisters putting out their prophecies. You still get the cool little bits where you think you read into it one way, and then you get another way to interpret it, and you find some other things. It's got one of my favorite tag team or multi-man matches that you're gonna see in comics. Ton of fun, and surprisingly a realistic, or a very well done depiction of Macbeth. If you are a high school student and you got assigned Macbeth for a project and you don't really want to read it but you want to figure out what happened, there are worse ways to find out the story of Macbeth than reading The Crimson Cage. Next up, we have one of my favorite wrestling series from a mostly unknown writer within the comic sphere, but actually one of the more well-known wrestling comics if you're coming about it from the wrestling circuit. And that's going to be the 2-4 that make up Headlocked. Headlock has two series that go within it. You've got the traditional story, that's the narrative going through there, and then you've got Tales from the Road, which is a series of anthology stories that are always co-written by someone who is a professional wrestler. The writer here, Michael Kingston, is he's very connected to the wrestling circuits. In fact, you'll often find him at different shows selling these directly himself. He's paired up with a number of people. In fact, all of the covers that you see here are painted by the one and only Jerry the King Lawler. I know, Jerry the King Lawler painting Americana. Who would have thought? Not me. But you're going to get some absolutely great stuff here. So in the main series of Headlocked, what you're going to get is the story of kind of what I was talking about there. A theater kid who's going through college. He's enrolled in acting school. He's trying to work on his dramatic theater degree. He goes to one professional wrestling show and he gets absolutely hooked by it. And he comes about it from not the sort of traditional macho, big, I'm better than you thing, but the storytelling, the craft that in ring that goes there. Abandons his theater career and goes to get trained and work his way through the ranks of professional wrestling. It tells a really cool story about someone that you might not necessarily think would be attracted to professional wrestling, what they need to go through, what the path from just an enthusiast to being an indie wrestler and trying to make it onto the pros goes through. All the while, he's been collaborating with professionals, as you see with Tales from the Road, and you really get a look behind at what life looks like going through there. Big cast of characters, a lot of insight there. Very, very cool story. Again, you don't need to be a wrestling fan to be someone that wants to read this. Tales from the Road, you're going to get a series of anthologies that are going to be about different aspects of wrestling life. So it's sometimes it's going to be relaying a story that happened there. Sometimes it's going to be about how someone broke into the business. It's never going to be directly about them. It's going to be a character that's similar to them. But you get some very cool moments coming through by some really recognizable names as you're reading through. You'll be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. Highly, highly suggest these two. Published, self-published, puts them out through the Quick Comics publishing. You can find them at headlockedcomic.com. Next up, we're going to be talking about something that is not one of my favorite wrestling comics, but is something that is probably going to be the kind of thing that you're thinking about, and that is the Boom Studios line of WWE comics. Now, I'll be honest, these are not the best comics you're ever going to read. They are interesting. I wouldn't suggest these for anyone who isn't already a wrestling fan, but for those that are and have at least some kind of knowledge of the Ruthless Aggression era, I do think that these are actually pretty neat. They're written from the standpoint of basically what if the kayfabe that you see in the ring was real for the wrestlers behind the scenes. Comes about it from a way that is interesting if you're sort of aware of that world. So the twists and turns aren't machinations of the writers, but are the things that the wrestlers themselves are planning for. Each arc follows a different wrestler and a different story. The first few kind of follow the same story from the different standpoints. You get a lot of the Shield going on through there, first with Roman, or I guess first with Seth, and you get Roman, and you get Dean Ambrose, who's now over in AEW as Jon Moxley. It's all pretty fine. You get some interesting stuff, but really it gets more interesting the further it goes on. My favorite of the volumes is actually this right here, Women's Revolution. This is going to be telling a story of the four horsewomen of WWE, which of course are going to be Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, the Biggest Boss, and our main character, Bayley. This is going to be talking about the transition from sort of the Divas era of women in professional wrestling to where the women's division got to be its own thing and is some of the best that you'll see that's out there. It's the transition from these up-and-comers that come on and are starting to put on some of the best wrestling that's there. And you find these four friends that are coming up together, make a name for themselves, but only three of them get to make it to the main roster, with Bayley being promised continually that she'll get there, but continually having to push, having to get out there, being stuck in a character and a gimmick that they don't know if it's going to work. And like all the other comics that's mentioned here, it's more than just about the wrestling. Really, this is a story about Bayley, about her journey to be taken seriously, as we all are, to push further for what we're looking for. I read this one with my daughter. It's a lot of fun. Again, this is not going to be one of those titles that if you are not already a wrestling fan, and specifically a WWE fan, you want to pick up. But if you are, it's good. Check it out. And last of our full hitters that we're going to be going over here is going to be Hard Style Juice. Definitely the best named of all of these, with apologies to Hell's a Square Circle and Do a Powerbomb. Both are great, but I mean, come on, Hard Style Juice. Tell me you don't want to just go ahead and pick that up. Now, as of right now, this book is digital only. It was put out through the Amazon Prime Reader service. I believe there is a trade that's coming out shortly. In fact, by the time this goes up, it might be out. I don't think it's quite out yet, but I think they were trying to put it out to coincide with Wrestlemania. So, as you can see, flashing on the screen right now, we have some images that are coming from there. This is, again, going to be one of those stories that leans a little bit into noir. So it's going to be a little bit of a similar premise, but kind of goes different places to Do a Powerbomb. We get to see the youngest daughter in a wrestling family with a father as the owner of a indie circuit wrestling ring, and his son, her older brother, who is that particular indie promotion's biggest star, and who's on the precipice of making it into the big leagues, getting signed with an outfit like WWE. But on the night that he's supposed to go, an in-ring accident causes him to die in the ring, and she takes it hard and puts it upon herself to find out what happened to my brother. She can't take it on herself that he would just have an accident in ring. She believes that he was murdered, that there was a conspiracy that was afoot, and she will stop at nothing to find out what happened to her brother and to get the truth. What actually happens through there? Of course, I'm not going to tell you right now. Why would I do that? I'm telling you to go read these books. Best of all, if you have Amazon Prime, I know. Hey, if you have it, I'm not saying go out and get it, but if you already have Amazon Prime, you can read this book for free. The visual style looks almost closer to a manga. Reminds me a little bit of guys like Danielle DiNiccolo, where they are bridging that gap between manga and traditional Western comics. You get a lot of action. You get some bright, vibrant colors. Not the best book you'll ever read, but it's a ton of fun. Sets it up for a sequel. I don't know if it's getting one, but definitely. It's a quick read. You'll really enjoy it. You get some crime stuff. Now for our quick hitters. I love Criminal. I love Ed Brubaker. I love Cruel Summer. This book is fantastic. They call this Criminal Volume 3.5 of the hardcovers. It's a standalone story. Works great. This is where you get some backstory on some of our most prevalent characters that you see throughout. Specifically, we finally get to see Teague in the driver's seat of a story who previously had only been mentioned around the corners. You get classic criminal heist story. You get the build-up. You get all the characters working through. It's everything that you want. Why am I talking about it for this wrestling story? Well, I'm glad you asked. In the very build-up of the main crime that they are going to be hitting, they are knocking over and stealing the gate of a big wrestling match that is happening in LA. You get a few shots. You get Sean Phillips doing a few drawings, few paintings of the wrestling match. The book itself isn't a wrestling match, but the major plot point happens during a big wrestling match. So you know what? I'm counting it. It's on there. Plus, it's a chance to talk about this book. I'm not going to not take that. What are you talking about? Lastly, for our quick hitters, I've got to talk about Love and Rockets, the classic from the Hernandez brothers. Again, you might be looking at this and saying, why are you bringing this up? Well, believe it or not, there actually is a professional wrestling reference, which makes sense. Jaime is a big wrestling fan and actually put out a separate book of wrestling pictures. And the classic character Maggie, you may know Volume 1 when you're not doing the box set like this, is Maggie the Mechanic. She ends up living with her aunt for a period of time, who goes by Vicky Glory, when she's in the ring as, say it with me, a professional wrestler. You read through it, you get some professional wrestling going on, all the while you get the slice of life, the interlocking relationships and everything like that happening. So hey, it's in there. This, is it a wrestling book? Is it a wrestling comic? I don't know. It's not, but it has some of it. And those were some of my absolute favorite wrestling comics that are out there. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make that even bigger. Those were some of my favorite comics that are out there. They just happen to be about wrestling. Again, one of the things that I love about wrestling is that it's almost the idea of a real-life superhero comic. You get big, colorful, splashy personalities that are larger than life, that are building up with interpersonal dynamics, that end up with these big clashes against each other that all have this leading backstory. You get heroes turning to villains. You get villains turning to heroes. You get team-ups. You get betrayals. Everything that you love in comics, you get in the ring, all through this goofy choreographed soap opera that's one of the best things you'll ever see. I can't wait for Wrestlemania coming up, and I hope you're checking it out too. If you made it this far, hey, thanks for doing that. If you want to hit that like button, it's there. But more importantly than that, I want to know, what are your favorite wrestling comics? Is there something that I mentioned here that you have read and either really like, or you think, why are you bringing that up? Let me know about that. Bigger deal, is there a wrestling comic that you love that I didn't mention? Because I'm a mark for a wrestling comic, if it's not clear by now. If it's got wrestling in it, I'm checking it out, and I would love to check this out. So please, let me know. But hey, I've been Bunkmaster B. You all have been amazing. And I've got WrestleMania to go watch. See ya.